Good evening. This meeting of the Trenton Board of Education is called to order. At this time, the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Gene Willie.
Present.
Addie Dennis Lane.
Present.
Yolanda Lopez. Present. Teron McKnight. Gerald Trueheart.
Present.
Jeannie Week.
Present.
We have a quorum.
The New Jersey Sunshine Law. The New Jersey Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies in which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted on. On the rules of this act, the Trenton Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting by publicizing the date, time, and place, therefore posted on the webpage, the Times, and the Star Ledger. Formal action will take place at this meeting. Mission statement. All students will graduate with a vision for their future, motivated to learn particularly and prepared to succeed in their choice of college and career. At this time, I will take a motion to adopt the agenda with two addendums. One is curriculum, item E, learning loss for newcomers. The second addendum is personnel transactions, creation, new hires, and approvals, and actually a rescinding of a transfer. Those are the addendums to the agenda. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Need a second.
Second. Roll call. Gene Willie.
Yes.
Yolanda Lopez. Yes. Teron McKnight.
Yes.
Gerald Trueheart.
Yes.
Jeannie Week.
Yes.
Addie Dennis Lane.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. At this time, we will have remarks from our superintendent, Mr. Alfonso Llano.
Good evening, Community Board of Education. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. For this evening, we have a special celebration recognition prepared. Mr. Grant and Dr. Conway, those podiums, may take over to announce the Governor's Educator of the Year recipients for the public schools. Mr. Grant, Dr. Conway.
Board members, community members, here we're so pleased and honored to be able to celebrate and recognize the 2020-2021 Governor's Educator of the Year recipient list for the Trenton Public Schools. I call out the name. Can each person please come up? Dr. Conway will hand you your certificate, and we'll shake hands, no hugging, and take your seats. We have Mr. Freddie Alvarez, parent liaison. Teacher at Harrison School. On behalf of the Trenton Board of Education, for all our recipients today, we are so proud of you. We thank you for what you do every single day. Congratulations.
I want to just add that Ms. Brittany Thomas, fourth grade teacher at Robbins Elementary School, is also the Mercer County Educator of the Year. And the Robbins School team. So one big round of applause for all of our educators here today. And it's so exciting to actually be here in person to see your smiling faces and be able to share this moment with you. So thank you.
Okay, absolutely. So at this time, again, congratulations to all the teachers that have been recognized by your school, and certainly congratulations to our Mercer County Teacher of the Year. I'm not sure if that's a first, but it certainly is worthy of a second round of applause. So moving right on. At this time, we will have comments by our board committee chairs, and I'd like to, let's see, who do we have here? I see head shaking. Okay, facilities, no. Operations, yes?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So we met Wednesday and, what was that? I have it last. We reviewed this secretary's report, treasurer's report, and the bill list. We also, like to really say how grateful we are that, the Trenton School District received a $700,000 three-year grant. It's a technology grant to do a technology audit and to overhaul the technology infrastructure. The donor is anonymous, and so we're really grateful for that. There's also a Verizon grant. 4 middle schools will participate in this grant. They will have a technology coach, and also all will receive iPads. And then the last point I'd like to make is donations. So the donor here was Logan Development. There's a prom dress. The recipient is Trenton Central High School. Michael Ward donated an upright piano. Jefferson Elementary School is a recipient. And Jacobs Music donated 3 pianos to Hedgepath Williams Middle School.
Right.
Thank you.
Want to thank the community for their continued support. And now we will have policy and or face. Mr. Trueberg.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to present today. We've had several over the last 6 to 7 months. On Tuesday, our broadcast, TV radio broadcast on WIMG 1300 AM, as well as NPHY, Verizon Channel 28. We have many of our leadership team, Alfonso Young, our board acting superintendent, as well as Yolanda Lopez, one of our board committee for community-based community engagement. And we've had many of our leadership team as well as Phil Brandon, Dr. Conway, Michael Toft, and Fredo Ortiz, and Denise Crease, and others, and Michael Freeman, and others on our broadcast to share with us great news in terms of our reopening on May 4th was a presentation, a virtual presentation via Zoom every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. You can log into Zoom through our website. The broadcast on radio at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays, 11 p.m. on Thursdays on TV, PHY Verizon Channel 28. Jeannie Greenland, as well as our personal board president, James Lane, has been on many of our broadcasts. Again, May 4th, we talked about our reopening plan presentation of our restarting reopening plan for the Trenton Board of Education. On May 11th, we had our summer programs. Mike Talk was on to talk about our health and PE camp, our PT test bridge, summer enrichment program, early college bridge, summer enrichment program. Dell was on talking about sharing our summer enrichment program for extended learning opportunities. Also, we had 3 of our community partners, our Reggie Coleman of the Boys and Girls Club, Sam Frisbee of the YMCA, great grant of money for feed, talking and sharing about the summer programs for our students and how we're going to, of course, still follow all COVID-19 guidelines by the CDC, but they're so happy to be able to provide our students with opportunities this coming summer. May 18th, we had another update on our school opening with Hope Brand and Dr. Conway. Mike Talk was on again, talking about the SR2 funding, early college high school program, our college partners, the TC&J, Mercer County Community College, Rutgers University, our ninth grade academy, or ninth grade starting return for P-Tech program, our 6-year program. Our students get the opportunity to have non-industry certifications. Our summer school credit recovery opportunities. There's so much more to talk about. I know I have limited time here at the board meeting. But Michael, one last thing or two last things. Michael Freeman was on as well, talking about COVID testing. And we have testing every Friday here at the administration building from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. So in other words, if you're missing those broadcasts on Tuesday, please tune in for great information about what's happening across our district. Great things in our schools, great things here at the administration building, support our teachers, and to support our community. We're working in partnership with the city of Trenton. Also, to have additional COVID testing on Fridays. We have vaccination sites in cooperation with the city of Trenton for students grades 12 to 18 being vaccinated. Beginning on May 26th is the first shot, June 16th is the second shot. We talked about contract tracing was explained. Denise Streets talked about Wellington Initiative Assistance Program for our families. Because the moratorium on all these things are going to close out June 3rd, 2020. Did not know it's important to share with our community those who need assistance or repayment plan agreement with PSE&G. Wilfredo talked about job opportunities, some of the opportunities we have here in the city of Trenton with our Board of Education. And I discussed also tomorrow night, we're going to have the African American Cultural Collaborative of Mercer County, and we're talking about partnership. We board in partnership with them on the Juneteenth celebration coming up in June. There's so much more to share with you, but I'll close out on that. One last thing on the policy. We've approved over 89 policies and regulations over the last year or so. We have a chart that outlines the things that were approved by our board. So I would want to commend our policy committee as Ron and Afghan Twain and Yolanda Lopez for all their hard work, and our general counsel, Jamie Cole, Alfonso Yama for being part of that committee, really stretching themselves out over the last several, actually almost a year now, with this marathon to get our policy updated. 89 policies over the 36 or so policies, 24 or so different regulations. Let me probably just add it up. I have it right here. We've gone over so many different policies and regulations. We continue to work hard, meeting weekly over the last year or so to bring it forward, and we'll continue to do so as we continue to work on the policies. Thank you for the time and spending time. I appreciate the opportunity to share on both of those that we take.
Thank you. And if there are no other committee reports, I'd simply like to share the curriculum committee report. The curriculum committee met on Thursday, and we discussed a number of proposals that are on the curriculum agenda. We looked at some of them that, in fact, were outstanding proposals. One for expanded translation services, some amendments to previously passed proposals. There is a newcomer proposal for learning loss, which actually we amended a little bit earlier tonight. There is a focus on coding for our students. There's also a partnership with Microsoft, and there's an extension of the Harvard Foundation partnership and a partnership with Writer to give our employees easier access to Writer admissions and programming. So that again is a partnership with Writer. Again, some of our amendments involve changes to previously approved proposals, but with a change in funding sources. For special needs update, we talked about the expanding of our self-contained program in terms of students being able to access 4 days a week. We talked about what inclusion looks like and out-of-class replacement looks like. We also talked about compensatory services that are still being offered And in fact, that will continue to make up for any services that were not provided during the pandemic in person. Annual reviews are being completed. We looked at solidifying the numbers for the ESY program to take place at King School this particular summer. And we were looking to add a child study team posting for next year, an additional child study team, as well as the fact that 2 CAPs have been closed, corrective action plans have been closed, and 1 is still open as it relates to the courts. So those are the things that we actually discussed during the curriculum committee meeting. With that said, then if there are no additional committee reports, then we will just move along. All right, at this time, we will have a presentation from from the Any Given Child program. Mr. Norberto Diaz and Ms. Jacqueline Ivy will in fact share this particular presentation with us. We thank you for your continued support in terms of the arts and culture here at the Trenton Public Schools. Mr. Diaz.
Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent Alfonso Leon, and distinguished Trenton Board of Education members. Our visual performing arts department under Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Michael Top, has made some great forward strides this year. We'd like to show off a little bit tonight. Our partners from the John F. Kennedy Center for Visual Performing Arts for Any Given Child Trenton, Compass Conservatory. Compass stands for Conservatory of Music, which I like, Performing Arts Society. And it's driven by Miss Jackie Ivy and assisted by Miss Maple Watson. And they're going to give you a presentation of what we've done so far this year and what we're planning to continue to do. So please give them a nice welcome because they really work hard. Jackie Ivy.
It's been a long time coming, but under these circumstances, we're delighted to be able to come and present to you what the Art for Any Given Child Trenton has been doing for the past 6 years. We've been working with the Kennedy Center down in Washington, and in this past year, due to COVID-19, we had to redirect our focus to make sure that the children and the staff would be able to receive what Art for Any Given Child Trenton has for them. So our mission, the mission of Art for Any Given Child Trenton is to provide world-class arts education in Trenton Public Schools through joyful engagement with high-quality, diverse arts experiences, resulting in engaged citizens who are curious, empathetic, resilient, and prepared for success in the 21st century. It is the right of every child to have continuous learning through the arts. It is the responsibility of the entire Trenton community. That's our vision and mission. And as was mentioned, my name is Jackie Ivy. I am founder and executive director of Compass with 1 S. And I also am owner of the Conservatory Mansion Art and Cultural Center, not too far from here. And Mabel and I have been serving the backbone as the backbone organization for Art for Any Given Child Trenton for the past 2 years. So without further ado, I'd like to give you a brief presentation of what we've been doing this year. Again, when everything changed and students were not able to come back to school, we knew that there was a need, and so we present to you our presentation. So again, we have to redirect our focus, although Arts for Any Given Child 4 major focus areas, which are arts integration and programming, fundraising, family and community engagement, and partnerships. This year, due to the pandemic, we focused our attention on a new goal, raising funds for art supply kits that students can have at home And our goal is a lofty 10,065 students having at-home art supply kits from public schools, grades K through 12. So we launched a Giving Tuesday fundraiser back in December, and we're happy to report our results. As you can see, our Trying to Give a Child Transit is a collective impact collaboration. These are just a few of the active members and organizations this year that have held up the program through this pandemic. So we have been conducting virtual meetings thanks to the tremendous support of Superintendent Yano, CAO Michael Talk, EPA Supervisor Roberto Diaz, and Grants Director Keisha Jackson, who have joined and have been a part of our Community Arts Executive Committee, along with Maureen Heffernan, Wendy Liscow, and David Watson. So we were writing grants this year to ensure that we would be able to provide art supply kits for 10,065 students, and we were awarded a $50,000 grant from the Prince Edward Community Foundation's New Jersey Arts and Cultural Recovery Fund. That was major. So also, we've been receiving ongoing support from the Dodge Foundation since the inception of our Trying to Give a Child Transit. And as you can see, in just a few short months, we had about 50 individuals who graciously and generously donated to our Facebook and website fundraiser. And you can see the names of those listed. One of them, including one of the board members here, Gene Wood. And collaborate with community arts partners, school district funders, community partners, and then as you can see, we had some community volunteers even dedicate their time to bundle over 2,930 colored pencils. We were able to get members of the Zenos and Kudos Youth Group of the National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa Inc. Pi Chapter, their leaders, and other community volunteers helped bundle these colored pencils for the art supply kits. They took them home, we made sure everyone was socially distancing, and they were able to help us with those donations. Also, as you can see here, there are tons and tons of boxes gracing the conservatory mansion, which happens to still be closed due to COVID-19. So we put it to a different use. And these are just a few of countless boxes, and we're still not done. So I think there's a little video here. I'm not sure if it's going to work. Okay. So the art supply contents, thanks to art teachers from the entire district, we were able to virtually meet, ask them for their dream list by grade. They gave us the number of students in each school and each grade, and we were able to put together some basic art supplies that would go inside the kit. Scissors, rulers, glue sticks, color pencils, crayons, pencil sharpeners, large erasers, the mobile caddy, which every student will have a handheld caddy that they can carry inside, outside, wherever they would like to do some artwork. And there's also a cloth mask inside. Now we still are in need of the construction paper and sketch pads, which we're hoping that the district would be able to help supply. Those are the most costly for the kids. But we also will be providing markers, liquid glue, and tape. And every single student will have what you see here, which is an art supply kit, portable, individual size based on their age appropriateness And we'd like to thank you for the opportunity again to share what we've been doing. In addition, we also have joined the STEAM team next to CAO Mike Cobb and Roberta Diaz. Our partners, Wendy Biscow and Maureen Heffernan, have been also engaging in PD trainings. They've been leading professional development trainings for the visual performing arts department. And there's a lot of work to be done going forward. We look forward to continuing the work, the great work, and working with all of our partners. And again, thank you for the opportunity to allow us to present tonight. Thank you.
Again, I'd simply like to say thank you on behalf of our students and our staff members, because certainly with our students at home and knowing that programs in the arts music require some kind of handful of materials. So thank you for being a resource for our students during this particular time of need. We certainly appreciate your support and the use of your conservatory for other needs. And so thank you for adapting, just as we've all had to adapt during this time period of interest and change, shall we say. All right, so again, thank you. Any other comments from board members or questions?
Yes. Yes, we put in invoice with Keisha Jackson to see if there's some funding that can help us provide paper for every child to be able to have something to write on and whatever else they would like to do with that paper. So, yes.
Okay, so noted. Thank you for that clarity. So district officials, hopefully those of you in charge of purchasing and suppliers, take care of instruction paper and sketch pads, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So noted. All right, thank you. Okay, so that is our presentation for our any given child. And at this time, I think I'm going to ask the question.
Yes, with all of the award recipients who are here this evening, meet me outside. I'd just like to take a group shot if possible. So if you meet me outside, just grab the front door, and I'll meet you at the steps outside.
Those are the teacher recognition candidates from your schools for their certificate or a group photo, quick photo. Social distance, of course. Okay, we'll give them a couple of minutes to do that. And shortly thereafter, we will start public participation. Okay, so give us a minute, we'll start public participation.
It's just. In the conservatory management, could be worse if you never.
The attendance ain't even set enough for me.
This lady is great.
The dynamite. I feel water.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything. Good job. Great job.
So I do want to say thank you for your patience. Certainly, we want to recognize all of our staff members that were recognized, parent liaisons, guidance counselors, teachers, all who were recognized this evening. Hopefully, ETS will provide their event that they normally do to recognize those particular folks. It would be great. So hopefully, they'll be able to provide it at some time in the future. And again, thank you for your patience. Okay, so officially, we're going to get started with our public participation at this time. I am going to remind you of the regulations regarding public participation. I will say to you that a number of people signed up. I'm not sure if they're all here. So please be mindful of that. We know that everyone who signed up has 5 minutes to speak. But again, I have 25 people on my list. I don't see necessarily 25 people here to speak, but again, be mindful of the time for others. At this point, here is the advisory. The Trenton Public School District welcomes the attendance and comments from all members of the public at its meetings. This public comment period is your time to be heard on any school or school district issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to the residents of the school district. Each person who signed up to comment will have 5 minutes. You will be notified when your 5 minutes are up. You cannot yield your time to another person. When it is your turn to speak, please address all of your comments to the board president. Please conduct yourself in a respectful and courteous manner. For anyone whose comments or actions either harass, intimidate, or threaten the safety of any person, we will provide you with a warning or need to end your comment time. Also, if you curse, use vulgar language, or make personal attacks, we will provide you with a warning or end your comment time. Comments that adhere to those guidelines will not be interrupted. Also, we ask that members of the public not interrupt the speaker during their public comment. If you have any questions, please ask your questions during your 5-minute comment period. After the public comment is closed, the board, superintendent, or a designee will address your questions to the extent provided by law. With that said, we're going to begin our comments with Ms. Judy Martinez. Not seeing Ms. Martinez, we'll go on to Ms. Marisol Tirado. Not seeing Ms. Tirado, we'll go on to Mr. Daniel Siegel. Not seeing Mr. Siegel, we will go on to Ms. Grace Rarich. Not seeing Ms. We will go on to Ms. Marlena Ventura.
Good evening, President Lane, Superintendent Yano, board members, teachers, staff, community members, and those watching. My name is Marlena Ventura. I'm a kindergarten teacher at Columbus Elementary School, and I'm the second vice president for the Trenton Education Association. And I'd like to thank you for again letting me have this opportunity. Right now, I would like to talk to you, President Lane. I'm not happy. At the last board meeting, you addressed concerns, many concerns, about not giving teachers pay. You told the public watching that the judge that gave you the injunction stated you were in the right to dock our pay for a work stoppage. Well, I'd like to set the record. I'm going to start at the beginning with the fact of why we were at court. We were in court because you chose to file an injunction instead of negotiating with the Trenton Education Association. Second, the judge, Robert Eugene, was appointed by Chris Christie, and we all know he was anti-teacher and anti-union, and this particular judge upheld his governor and appointed students. Yes, we vetted the judge that was assigned to us. I know vetting is a foreign concept to board members, but we as TA members do like to know who we are dealing with. But I digress. The third, in reality, there was not a work stoppage because teachers all logged in. They taught their students. They taught a full day. Parents and students had the same routines that they always had. There were no complaints in children learning, except for the teachers who showed up in the buildings because the Trenton board didn't have their internet up and running until almost 11 o'clock in the morning. Docking the pay was vindictive, especially during the pandemic and a week before Teacher Appreciation Week. I know exactly what the Trenton Board of Education thinks of its teachers, the people who are on the front line and actually make this district run. I will no longer do more than what is asked by me by my contract, because my district does not respect me and does not appreciate all that I do. That being said, I'm not going to advocate for my students that I will have next year. I looked at the assessment schedule for next year. I think Superintendent Yano, did any of the administrators that put together that schedule have a degree in early childhood? Because I do. The reason why I ask is because there are a minimum of 24 major assessments on the calendar for kindergarten. You heard me right, that's 24. That means we will be giving a major assessment every 1.6 weeks. So I'm curious, when will we be teaching? Each major assessment has to be given one-on-one and usually takes the better part of a week to administer. So again, I'm asking, when will we be teaching? And I'm sure you're aware that these types of assessments are not developmentally appropriate for kindergarten. So if these assessments are not developmentally appropriate for kindergarten, to gather data for young children, what is? Well, the National Association for the Education of Young Children has a list that includes observations, checklists, counters, demonstrations, performance tests, and portfolios, all methods that are being currently used by kindergarten teachers in the district. By gaining data from these assessments, teachers can teach, and students and children can be children. They will not be stressed out by worrying about making mistakes on assessments. What we must do what's right by our students. By administering assessments that are not developmentally appropriate, we are not doing right by our students. We are causing them harm. We are teaching them that the only reason to learn something is to pass an assessment. and which goes completely against the district's mission of students who are motivated to continually learn. Stop hurting the students. Listen to the experts, the teachers. If you listen to the teachers, we would not be here right now. We'd be in a much better place. The buildings might be in better condition. There might not be this animosity between teachers and administration. We would not be harming our students academically, emotionally, and socially. Listen to the teachers. They are on your front line. Listen to the teachers. They have the knowledge you need to make this district amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to Ms. Michelle Moraza.
I'm gonna start differently. Being back here, watching you all this evening, see how many people are alive right now, and how many of you have your mind on your mask, and see how many of you can't even speak into a microphone without pulling down your mask. Oh, I'll pull it down so you can hear me, because I teach with the mask on all day, and I can still speak with it on. And this is what you expect us to be doing. So I don't understand why sitting in this room, you can't keep it on and speak to us. Because that makes no sense. And in your instructions for board meetings, which you sent out, it stated that everyone was expected to wear masks. But I'm looking at some of you with your noses out and pulling down your masks as you're speaking. It doesn't matter if you're vaccinated. And if you read the CDC information, it states that even if you are vaccinated, you can still be carrying it and spreading it to other people. You don't wear a mask for yourself. You wear it for everyone else around. But let me go back to my problem. The first thing I wanted to address was at the last board meeting, Ms. Lane, you went over some of our concerns and you addressed them. One of the main concerns that I had that you missed was the water in our basement. I brought you some tonight since you missed it. I didn't want you to forget it because it's been a concern at Wilson for the 18 years I've been there. It's always leaking, so I brought you some. I'm gonna leave it here, but I don't want to walk around and violate anything. So maybe it can be addressed. It consistently leaks. I know that every single principal that has been in our school has complained about it. I know every single head custodian has complained about it. And I know nothing has been done. And I know that every time it rains, it is messy in our school. And I know that it is disgusting down there, and I know it can't be good because it's seeping up through the floors, it's coming up through the pipes, and it cannot be good to be teaching over top of that. Also addressed was the PD, and I know that we talked about how in my learning plan, most of those PDs were rated 3 stars. And that's 3 out of 5. And the questions in my learning plan are questions such as, is the presenter able or prepared to present? My first graders could have gotten 3 out of 5 stars. All you have to do is hit next on the slide. That doesn't really tell us if what was presented was adequate for teaching hybrid instruction. That really doesn't address the concerns that teachers had about that PD that was presented on those days. But again, those were the 2 concerns I had about the last board meeting. What I really wanted to speak about today was consistency across the school. Other districts have been extremely successful with hybrid education because they have been consistent. My own daughter's school district has been extremely successful because they planned since last summer. They had plans that were not different in every single school. They were consistent across the district. A parent who has 3 children in 3 different schools should know the same procedures will occur in all 3 schools. There's so much confusion across the district because there is no consistency. It makes no sense that when a question is asked by a pandemic team, often the answer is that we will let you know. And then the principal has to ask an administrator, and the administrator sometimes has to ask somebody else, and they have to ask somebody else, and nobody knows an answer. When should have created one single cohesive plan. We have so many supervisors and administrators and directors that I see them sitting over here on their phone, not listening to anybody. I see all of you sitting up here looking around, not paying attention to anybody ever. And then you leave it all on the schools to create pandemic teams and create their own plans instead of creating one cohesive plan for the district. It makes no sense, and that is why Trenton is so far behind every other district in Mercer County and many districts in New Jersey. There are many school districts that are going 5 days a week at this point. And this is why, because they had plans that were created back in last summer. They stuck to their plans. They planned for times when there would be outbreaks, when they would have to go back to virtual, but they already had that plan.
Excuse me, I need you to conclude your remarks, please.
Yes. So it is time for the leadership to stop being lazy, to have accountability, to actually do their job and create cohesive plans. The entire district can follow. We have 3 months until September. It is the absolute least that we can do for the children and our community to actually have a cohesive plan and be prepared. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Butter, don't forget, please.
At this time, Ms. Estella Harris. Ms. Estella Harris. Ms. Talithia Duncan.
Good evening. So a lot of the names that you called, a lot of those people did not realize that the board meeting was in person. They thought they were gonna have a hybrid option, which would either attend or attend virtually and speak. That is why a lot of the names that you were calling are not present. Good evening. I would like to take a moment to address the board regarding the complacency regarding concerns that we bring to you on a consistent basis. Number one, your body and facial expressions that are displayed by most of you is not only disrespectful to the association, it is also disrespectful to the students, parents, and members of this community. You all sit up there and act like the association makes up ambiguous concerns with the sole purpose of embarrassing the district. When we address any issues and or concerns at this level, it is because our concerns and issues have fallen on deaf ears at the central leadership level. If any of you think that we take pleasure in having to take time away from our personal lives and times with our families to speak monthly about fiction versus reality, then you are sadly mistaken. We do not get pleasure from having to constantly be at war with all of you. However, when you all don't do your due diligence to address and correct the concerns and issues that we bring forward, we have no choice but to continue to stand up here monthly and continue to fight. What is due diligence? Due diligence is the care that a reasonable person exercises to avoid harm to other persons or their property. That means when we tell you that there's an issue, instead of giving us a cookie cutter response at the next meeting, you all should go and actually investigate the concern and or issue and offer a remedy. And not the normal, all is well in the Trenton Public Schools fairy tale response. There have been many occasions when you have used deceptive tactics to prevent public participation from community stakeholders, such as changing meeting times, little notice of special meetings, and limiting public comments. And concerning the latter, your excuse is, we are tasked with completing the business of the board, and we cannot have an unlimited time frame for public comments. I find that excuse as weak and as asinine. When in fact, during the last meeting and at other times when certain board members feel like they are being attacked, they are allowed to pontificate hubris and BS without being stifled or interrupted to let them know that they exceeded 5 minutes. An example of this was last week when President Lane was giving her fairy tale responses to concerns that had been raised by the public previous meetings. She used 25 minutes to spout information that she and I both know are not true. I am not sure why when people transition to new positions, they suddenly forget about where they came from. President Lane repeated one phrase no less than 10 times during the last meeting regarding the docking of the teacher's pay, but refused to report out at previous board meetings who was in charge of HR during the pandemic before Mr. DiDonato was hired, despite being asked several times by union leadership and members of the public. Why was that? Hopefully, since President Lane claims that the board is transparent, we will finally get an answer to that question. In her 25 minutes of fairy tale responses, President Lane failed to mention that when the teachers worked, and let me reiterate, worked from home, students were still remote, and that the district had several internet outages during those days, and had those teachers gone into the buildings to instruct their remote students, the instructional program for the entire student population would have been disrupted. Of course, President Lane did not include that tidbit of information in her responses. Furthermore, Ms. Lane stated that no one on the central leadership team has ever or will ever act in a vindictive or retaliatory manner towards a person based on them voicing issues and concerns. Once again, I say, President Lane, how soon do you forget? One of your board colleagues was walked out of the central admin building when they were an employee of the district. Let's not talk about the ghost person on the central leadership team who has been trying to actively cut my grievance chair, Janice Williams' salary for the past 3 weeks. And finally, someone started a rumor about me, which I will not repeat because an administrator was and is currently terrorizing my members, and leadership has not and refuses to reprimand this individual for reasons that you all know but refuse to say out loud. In the future, you all as board members need to do your due diligence when it comes to investigating and addressing concerns brought to you by the public. Engage the community and allow the public to speak if they took time away from their personal lives to fulfill their civic duties so that their voices can be heard and their concerns can be addressed. If you all cannot do that, then you need to step down and return from which you came.
Thank you, Ms. Duncan. Ms. Janice Williams, if you can prepare after the white pen.
Let's give him a round of applause. He's doing a great job for the whole time. Okay. Finally, the delinquent board member has stepped down. A move long overdue. What a disservice to the parents, students, and tragic community. Professional integrity should have deemed her to step down over a year ago. She had been a no-show board member since her appointment and had the audacity to weigh in on important decisions taking place in the district. She once talked about hypotheses that did not exist, just like her tenure on this board. She finally did the community a favor. She brought nothing to the table except her absence that was always noticed. Now, for tonight's business. Mayor Reed Gaziori is earning his signature of silent partner with the Trenton Education Association when it comes to education here in the city of Trenton. Success requires strong leadership, and Mayor Reed Gaziori is noticeably silent when confronting with the failures of his appointed board members who have little to no history to the Trenton community. Little or no history to the Trenton community. Ultimately, the buck stops for the mayor, and his silence is a clear green light for the shenanigans happening at the Trenton Board of Education. This Board of Education fails to respect and engage trade community stakeholders, exhibits a clear ignorance of the challenges and trends of urban education, and one, as of today, who resigned, failed to even show up for board meetings. Overall, there appears to be a lack of coherent educational vision from Trenton Mayor Reed Casiore and his board. He was silent when the Trenton Education came to him regarding the flawed superintendent search and its lack of inclusion of stakeholders groups in this process. Trenton deserves the best superintendent candidate selected through a transparent, Ms. Stripe, collective, and inclusive process, which was not done. This is what this board presented this new superintendent with. A negative starting point in building relationships with unions, parents, and community, because you, the board, you did not see the value in gaining such respect. The process of selecting a new permanent superintendent for the Trenton Public Schools has displayed all the hallmarks of how this board chooses to perform its public functions. A lack of collaboration between stakeholders, secrecy and double talk. And now tonight, you want to announce and present to the students, parents, teachers, and community a superintendent that you and you alone picked. Board of Education members, you didn't deem it appropriate for the job and expect the stakeholders of the city of Trenton to agree with you, did you? But we didn't have any involvement in the process, did you, Jeannie? You have made a mockery of this process, and shame on you, and condolences to the new superintendent, James Earl. The mayor also has remained silent, with the association pointing out to him that he needed more educators and Hispanics on the board, with the current student population in Trenton Public Schools being 12,451 students. 55% of those students are Latinos, 39% Black, with only one Hispanic board member. What was the mayor's response? Remain silent. He also remained silent when the association pointed to him the facts regarding why our student staff at this time should not report back to hybrid in-person learning due to health and safety concerns in some of our schools. Yet, he held a press conference to announce that Trenton schools were ready, safe, open for business again. How are those students' return numbers looking now, district? Dismal at best. Mayor Casiore and board members, give our parents credit. When it comes to the safety and health of their children, they are going to do what is in the best interest of keeping their child safe, irrespective of the dog and pony show press conference that you put on. Newly appointed Superintendent James Earl and board. The Trenton Education Association is a powerful, valuable, well-informed partner with collective knowledge of our students and urban education, and we will not be silent. Ron Sanderson, TA member and former first vice president, once asked you to remove all bias, set political influences aside, and value the voice and opinions that will come from the union partners and the community at large. We're hoping that those of you who continue to shut down when you hear our voices, because that's what we do, that's what you demonstrate, that's what we see. You should see yourself on Zoom. Your expressions, your attitudes. For those of you who continue to shut down when you hear our voices, that you will try to get past our differences and remain open to the message that we cannot remain silent because silence is acceptance. We will continue to fight to remove the barriers of institutional racism, and will continue to advocate for opportunities and social justice in education for all Trenton Public Schools students.
Excuse me, I need you to conclude your
I
words, please.
have one, two more seconds. I hope you will join this call because Trenton School deserves better. James Earl, newly appointed superintendent who will be announced tonight, you will have the opportunity to select 2 assistant superintendents. Currently, you have 1 interim superintendent of support services, and you have an acting superintendent who has the title of chief academic officer. Any newly appointed superintendent should be allowed to bring in his new people. We said that before this board, in its infinite wisdom, created hierarchy levels of directors, levels. The new superintendent, James Earl, who we knew weeks and months ago, after you bypassed Mr. Yama, who should be in that seat today, because you and your infinite wisdom waited too long to offer this
Okay,
great
Ms.
man a
Williams,
job.
I need you to
I
conclude your
will wrap
remarks.
up. We hope that this board will allow the newly appointed superintendent, once announced, James Earl, to select the remaining two superintendents in this district. Currently, you only have two permanent assistant superintendents. Give Mr. Earl the opportunity. Don't shut him out like you shut out the stakeholders of this great city.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, appreciate your comments, thank you. Okay, at this point, we're going to move to our next person, please be prepared. Ms. Sandy Jimenez is the next person.
Good evening, board members, acting superintendent Yano, and community members. Tonight, I would like to speak about the district's lack of planning and what chaos that has been created throughout the district. First, I would like to address the inconsistencies in the reopening plan district-wide. By allowing individual buildings to choose what to do and how to handle things like entrance and exit procedures, overflow rooms, amount of purifiers, and sub-coverage, everything is different in each and every building. How are there schools that did not have overflow rooms planned for or prepared? This should have been an SOP in each and every school, especially since the district did not plan to get the adequate number of subs to cover teacher absences. When the district could not acquire enough subs, overflow rooms should have been a uniformly utilized solution. Yet there are cafeterias throughout the district that were not set up for overflow rooms until the end of last week or the beginning of this week. How are entrance and exit procedures different per school? I understand that each school has different door numbers, some students coming by bus, walking, coming from before, after care programs, etc. But the procedures are all different. Some buildings have students check their temperature prior to entrance, while others have the students wait until their teachers pick them up to walk them through the scanner. This may not seem like a problem, but it is in the bigger picture of our families and parents who have students at different schools. Not only that, Trenton Public Schools has an exceptionally high mobility rate with students moving across the district and being in several different schools each year. To add to the differences in schools, to make up for the lack of substitutes, some schools are trying to have specialists cover or are asking teachers to take extra students, both of which are contrary to the reopening plan the district came up with. While I'm addressing the district's lack of forethought and planning, did you notice there were 0 issues with internet disruptions up until May 3rd? That was because the teachers who were working from home and were using their own internet, which they were paying for out of their own pockets that the district had no problem going into to dock their pay. Suddenly, the district brings the teachers back into the buildings to continue teaching, and it's internet disruption and lagging one after another, over and over, to the extent that it's taking 15 minutes, if we're lucky, or more, to log in for a 30-minute class. But yet the teachers were accused of being unprofessional when they kept instruction seamlessly going for the students throughout their own internet while continuing to work from home. This is an exceptionally brief discussion of the things the district did not plan for due to their time restraints for public participation. But I would like to say that none of the things that I've detailed should have come as a surprise to the board, and it certainly was not a surprise to TEA. We told the district all the way back to last summer that these things would need to be looked at and planned for. I say this because all of these things could have been avoided had the district listened to the teachers who are on the front lines of educating our students and know what we are dealing with in these buildings. It is sad to me that the constant battle of who has the bigger pair, that is the students who lose when the district doesn't listen to the teachers at TEA. It was the teachers who were accused in court of doing irreparable harm, but all of these things could have been avoided had the district embraced collaborating with TEA for the benefit of the students. Going forward, if we truly want the district to succeed, collaboration between the unions and the district needs to happen. The district is so busy trying to act like they are the most powerful that they are missing in the mission statement where it says students come first. Thank you for the time to speak. Stay safe and have a good night.
Thank you. At this point, we'll move on again. Ms. Kathy Brett, looking around, I don't see. So, Mr. Indian, when he finishes.
evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. Tonight, it's hard to follow what a lot of my colleagues said, but it's right on point. But tonight, I'm going to offer you a solution. But there's a catch. It's going to take some self-awareness, and it's going to take some humility. I was going to write a speech tonight addressing some concerns about things that have been taking place in this district with regards to school issues. But instead, I just want to speak my mind. We, the staff, the community, the stakeholders, have been coming here for a while, airing our concerns every meeting. Nothing is being done. Instead, we get feedback on how everything is perfect and every concern has been addressed and answered. But we know that this is not the case. Has the board ever been wrong about anything? Because all I hear is feedback. In the feedback are narcissistic responses. I would like you to be honest with me and the public that is in front of you. Are we here to have our issues heard, or is this just a formality because it's something that you need to get to your agenda? There is much research out there with regards to how staff cohesiveness increases student achievement. And that just doesn't exist in the schools, but also in the districts. Between us and all the stakeholders and you, the board. Believe it or not, there's an answer. We need to work together. We need to stop fighting. We have asked many times to work collaboratively with the board for the benefit of our students. You have shown your care and concern about that by having selected a new superintendent to be totally private without any feedback on any bargaining. Again, no collaboration is taking place. You work entirely alone. When are you going to learn that if you want to make a difference in this district, that you need to work collaboratively with all the stakeholders? I mentioned to you before a proverb that states, if the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? I know some of you out there are very involved in your churches. You know what I'm saying in that statement. How great is the darkness? It takes humility. It takes self-awareness. But you know what the problem with narcissism is? People that demonstrate narcissistic behaviors don't even know they're demonstrating narcissistic behaviors because they know they're never wrong. It takes humility, self-awareness. When is the board going to when is the board going to humbly take a step back, examine things that they've done, see what isn't working, and work collaboratively with the stakeholders to make things better and effective for the benefit of our students? Aren't they why we are here? Students, please leave the narcissism at the front door. Let's work together for their benefit to make their path of success easier and a reality. Because staff cohesiveness really does increase student achievement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving right along, at this time, Ms. Nicole Backlund, if you would prepare to come up.
Board members, I'm just like to be over here. It's nice to be back together and see some of my fellow teachers. I'm glad to see this meeting in person tonight. Students and teachers have been back to the buildings for the past 3 weeks. For tonight's meeting, I wasn't sure where to begin. decided to look up quotes about education, hoping that someone else's words would inspire me. Unfortunately, the optimism I was searching for did not happen. I found a quote that was intended to be uplifting and motivating, but when I let the words sink in and reflected upon them, the quote is from Roma Angela, and she says, "Whoever controls the education of our children controls the future." When I think about the history of the board and the individuals leading the district, it frightens me to think what the future will look like with those that are currently controlling the education of our children. Our children deserve futures that are brighter than gold. They deserve every opportunity for greatness and so much more. Sadly, that is not what they get. When I come to this quote, I reflect on the many superintendent searches that have taken place since I started in 2009. The lack of transparency throughout each process, and the history of the best candidate being someone that is currently unemployed. I reflected on the request for open and honest communication and collaboration with board members and leadership during meetings, and how often teachers are blindsided by decisions that are made behind closed doors. I reflected on that goal that has come involved with this very building to prioritize the school agenda and political aspirations, and each step as a stepping stone to something else. I reflect on how often leadership says one thing to the public and then does the opposite in private. I reflect on all the plans and committees that have been created and poorly executed and then thrown away and forgotten. Is this the type of future that our children deserve? Is this the type of future this community deserves? The students of Trek are talented. They are intelligent, they are incredible human beings that deserve the same opportunities that the students in certain frequently get. Our students deserve to have leaders in charge that make decisions with the students' best interests and their futures at heart. The leaders making the decisions need to decide to serve the children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews attend these schools. But unfortunately, they do not think this way. The students of Trek are the ones that so often suffer and decide. It is not healthy to dwell or live in the past, but at the same time, we do not want to forget the history that does exist. As I wrap up this evening, I want to leave with a quote that I did eventually stumble upon, and let me get that optimistic. The quote is from President Obama in a dream. Can't let your failures define you. You have to let your failures teach you. Right now, the board and the leadership has an opportunity to learn from past mistakes and past failures and start to make the right decisions moving forward and build a healthy, brighter future for the children of today. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Beckman. Ms. Chantel Wooten, if you would prepare to come up, Ms. Wooten. Ms. Anna Lozada, if you would prepare to come up. Ms. Dana Oliver, if you would prepare to come up. Ms. Dawn Howard. Mr. John Fort, or Forte. Ms. Kira Royster. Ms. Kim Martucci. Ms. Noah Salah. Noah Salah. Ms. Tasha Austin. Ms. Cynthia Rabbit. I believe those are all the participants that I had for the public participation, and we called on everyone that is actually present. So at this particular time, we are going to close public participation and move on to board member comments. Board member comments. So at this time, I will open the floor for board member comments.
So first, I want to congratulate the Governor Award winners, to include the Teacher of the Year, Ms. Brittany Thomas. That's truly a great accolade, and we are very proud of that achievement for you all. So congrats to all the teachers that are honored today. The second is, let's just say thank you to the Cobra Squad and Shari Williams for your service. As colleagues, I was happy to find you. And I will be certain we'll get another again. So I think that's the work. Want to also follow up in regards to a comment made by Ms. Ventura, and this is directed Madam President to the superintendent in regards of the 24 major assessments for each childhood population. Just wondering to get a little more information on that. How many assessments did you perform last year? Was there an increase? Want to get some basic information on those items towards the day. Just follow up on that.
Okay, any other board members comments?
Just really quickly, just want to recognize that as we look at all of our facilities across the district, I think it's obvious that prior to the pandemic and now in the pandemic and post-pandemic, as we move out of the pandemic and move back to full-time in-person instruction eventually, that we do have challenges in our district facilities. That's no secret to anybody. We all know that we have challenges in our district, whether it be roofs that need to be replaced, that's causing damage to our buildings. But I do want to make a note of this, that our administrators, our facilities and grounds administrators, our leadership team is doing everything to make sure that the buildings are safe. We have had various experts come in and provide us with air quality assessments. We have invested over $10 million in our facilities. I think that right there shows an effort as well as a willingness to work alongside our partners and our teachers and unions to make sure that our buildings are safe to be occupied. I also like to know I haven't heard of any, maybe one that I recently sent an email since we went back hiring. We've asked for emails regarding any COVID cases in our district. I have yet to see any COVID cases or reported cases being reported in our district. I have not seen any emails or anything. That tells me that our buildings are safe, that our air quality is good, that we've done the necessary work to make sure that our buildings are safe, whether it be with air filtration systems, whether it be with filters in our HVAC systems, the ones that we can accomplish to fit based on the year and make and model of that particular HVAC system. I walked in here today for the first time in this administration building, temperature check, I filled out a COVID testing form. I checked my temperature. Then I was allowed to enter the building and go to a particular area where I was to serve as a board member. I went to Trenton High School. I was temperature checked. I was asked to fill out a form. I was not allowed to step foot in that building without going through that procedure. So that's two buildings in the district that I've been in where specific procedures have been followed the same. I am not suggesting that what is being shared tonight is not true. I am not, no, I'm not. I am not being shared. I am not sharing that. And, you know, out of respect, I was silent when you spoke and speak and say a word. Respect that same respect. I'm in the two buildings that follow the same procedures. And I have no doubt in my mind, I will go into other facilities if we have to make sure they're following the same procedures. If they're not following the same procedures, we really should be following the same procedures if they're in the same building. But I want to make a note that our facilities department is working and we're hiring more custodians, we're working to hire more help to come into our facilities and ensure that we're replacing ceiling tiles and doing any kind of remediation that is necessary to keep our teachers safe and our students safe. Now, I'm taken back by the fact that people will even think that we don't have a heart, that we don't have a mind, we don't care about you in our school facility, we don't care about our students, we don't care about our parents. That is far from the truth. That's why we approved the investment of millions of dollars into our facilities prior to teachers and students and parents coming back into the facility to make sure that we did the best possible job that we could do to provide a safe, secure facility for our teachers, for our parents, and for our students, and for any community partners that come into our facilities. I'm not suggesting anything right here tonight that suggests that we don't have challenges in our district facilities. That is far from the truth. We do, and I admit that we have challenges. However, I believe that those challenges that we face can be worked out our district, that we continue to work together, our facilities team comes together, we continue to work, we continue to report these issues and challenges, we continue to work together to rectify those challenges in our facilities, that we can make this happen. For you, for us, for our children to be educated, for our teachers to be able to teach in our classrooms. There's going to be hiccups along the way. I work in a district where we had COVID emails almost every other week when we first moved in high school. With contact tracing, with quarantine, and with shutdown. So yes, I understand and know that. We have not, when we opened in May, 3 weeks ago, have had any, maybe one that I know of, a COVID response, COVID case in our district. So I think we've done a great job. I know we have a lot more work to do, a long way to go to make sure that we continue to work hard along with our community partners, with our district staff and employees. So I just wanted to make that one comment. We have some comments in terms of our board agenda, but I want to be able to consider additional board comments on the board. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. I would like to, and I believe the concern about order from Wilson School. Mr. Mosley, is that in there? Okay, so Mr. Mosley, if you would, I heard some things about the water situation at Wilson School, so I would like you to clarify if at all possible.
Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent, board members. Allow me to just speak briefly about the Wilson School situation. Our teacher staff will be mentioned to the problem facing there is correct. This is not a new issue that has come about just yesterday. Unfortunately, the area in which the Wilson School was constructed is an area in which they have a low water table, and as you know, it's not far off. So when we have large rainstorms, when we have large downpours, unfortunately, the water table, because it's actually so low that it sometimes pushes back. And I'm sure that some of the neighbors in the area probably experiencing some. In the school was installed what they call a sump pump. So when you have situations like this, which is not something that's doing in any case, water is designed so that it pushes towards the sump pump, then in return pulls the water out, pushes it back towards through another line out to the source. Unfortunately, the water table is not going to change. We've had engineers that come out to the building about a week ago. They're looking into other options to see what exactly could be done. We've asked the city to also get involved to see It is going to require for us to be torn up, it's going to require for us to trench the entire basement out, possibly even run it through line and go out to the street, tie into the sewer line, if the city says it's okay to do so. So it's not an easy fix, it's not something that's going to go away tomorrow. Actually, as the staff alluded to, this is something that's been there for over 18 years, at least while that staff has been there. So I'm sure it's been there long before that as well. So we've also continued to address the issue. There's an underlying water, a standing water in the basement area. The custodian staff has directed to go down and try to push it towards the drain as best as possible. Unfortunately, they come back the next morning and find it's still lying in the basement itself. So again, hopefully the engineers can come back with the city, they can give us another outside, we might be able to look into. It may be a costly item somewhere down the line, like, until there's another means for us to be able to properly address it, or at least look into another way to address it again. That's what we're gonna have to do. What I also did is we had our engineer, our environmental team go out and do air quality assessments on school, both on both levels of the basement as well. So as soon as those results return, we'll be able to share that with the staff. Certainly. Right, so what would actually happen is they would literally, when I say church, you have to saw out, dig down a few inches so that you got the proper pitch. And try to pitch it out towards the street. The problem is they know that the level of the sewer line is still to be able to meet that line. It's enough, it's going to call the pitch to meet that. If not, there's some type of mechanical system needs to be put in. Pulling the
Just a question about, is this particular project?
Unfortunately not. It's not a project that was supposed to be addressed, with the understanding that sometimes people do the job that was designed. Unfortunately, it's been going for several years.
I mean, so since that's the case, right, I mean, is there any, we should look into putting that on our short-term service plan? I mean, knowing that it's been a long-term problem, right?
So this is not the first time it's been, not to cut you off.
No, it's fine, and knowing that we currently don't have a mechanism to fix it temporarily, this definitely should be something on our project. I mean, I know you guys can move down to debate, but standing water is always an issue in terms of whole issues. You know, we don't want that to cause any further problems. So, you know, I would like to see how this is being prioritized going forward. I mean, just the plan. I know tomorrow, but we'd love to see how this is going to be mapped out in terms of addressing that issue.
Their reports come back, certainly we've taken the first step. I'm sure my predecessor, as far as I remember, as a precedent with the city previously. We've got responses, not much to do with it. But yes, we are having engineers to go out, so the plan is actually in progress. They can come back with something that certainly is going to better manage it, and I would definitely look into it.
I mean, is this one of those things we, through Andy, needs to reach out to the mayor's office to figure out whatever we just mentioned, the sewer lines, or no?
Unfortunately, it's beyond, this is my nature of it.
I think, you know, we can't immediately remediate the problem of the water. But I think to alleviate the problem of the musty smell and the fact that you know, on the next level, remove the water as quick as possible is probably you know, I have not stood that to some months because the issue of gas water was coming in from the sides and just came up.
This is the first time I'm hearing the musty smell in the classroom. I've been to school several times. I personally haven't smelled it anywhere in the classroom. I'm certainly here. That is the case.
Yeah, even put the milk absorbers or whatever those are.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
No.
I guess my question is around employee safety, right? So in this particular case, we know that was a problem at Wilson School. What are, quite superintendent, what are the cautions staff? So in other words, once we find out that this is happening in the school, this problem occurs and we have the water, the groundwater from the water table. We, at that point, close the school. Is at that point, here's an example, like we had a hot water unit go out, not our buildings. No hot water, we didn't close the building down, there was no hot water, but in this case, if the water table is causing that problem, it's a situation where we close the school, what are the precautions that we take to protect the staff?
I can just, it's limited to, if you don't have hot water, you don't have clean water, you can wash your hands or look at plates. So that's the case where the water chapter. They fix some water table where we do have actual sump pumps, but we're not moving out of our building because of the water. What we want to do is to continue to push towards the sump pumps, get rid of the water and not allow it to continue. Is there any answer to cut into the floor to see if there's a need? That's something that we certainly look at. But the school's been there since the onset as well as this higher water table. So over the course of these years, I hate to say it this way, but we've been managing it accordingly and we'll continue to do so.
For the school is safe for occupancy.
I have not seen anything that said otherwise. And again, I'll continue to have air quality tests performed. We'll continue to have our accounting staff go over to try to address the issue until, and hopefully with the engineering report, we can come back with another means to be able to address the situation. I was hoping that we have a report sometime this week, so I can certainly follow up. They were just out there on last Thursday. Believe that they're going to be in the city positions for their street department to see if there's something that they can suggest as well. I don't know if that's something moving forward, but I anticipate it coming through. What's involved with well, typically when we have our engineers go out, they need to provide a long-term estimate on the high side as to what they anticipate the cost might be to carry out the project. After which certainly I can.
Thank you. You know what, Gene, Jen, these are the kind of conversations we have in our facilities, right? I mean, we ask these questions. If this particular issue comes up in our facilities meeting, this is the type of dialogue that we have, get to the bottom of issues and challenges. And we ask the facility administration these very questions, safety issues, safety questions, questions about cost, questions about time, questions about all the things that we need to know. If the expert is telling us that it's safe, if the expert is telling us that we're going to get reports, environmental studies that we've done, then we say, okay, that's the direction that we're going. We trust the judgment, we trust the experts. I believe it's one of those environmental connections that we work with. There's another air quality vendor that we have that does air quality work. So I know that a lot of the members here today are not in our committee meetings, specifically in our facilities committee meetings. But I want to assure you that under our chairmanship, under the chairmanship of Jenny Weekly, that we are asking these questions, that we're going through these issues about our facilities, so we do know about them. We're asking the questions about safety and concern for students and concern for staff. So I don't think that we're just going over our head. We don't care. We don't respect what you're saying. We are asking those difficult and challenging questions in the committee. And just particular here today, because the issue came up in public comment, we're having a meeting right now in public comments in our board meeting. So I want to assure the public and the teachers and everyone that we have these conversations in our committee.
Thank you, Darrell. I just have a last question, and this is just my, I kind of want to know what type of projects you know to be long-standing and have these historical findings that you know about, maybe not have a solution to at this moment. I'm still unclear about why something like this isn't on our long-term savings plan. And just wondering how many other projects, that's understanding that they exist. I can go our movies are having a lot of maintenance. I just want to make sure that we are, as a you know, as a district, kind of categorizing those important projects that we don't have an immediate resolution for. But we need to prioritize them, and that don't necessarily need to be able to, it's not necessarily exist on the long-term plan, but probably be added to the long-term plan. So just to get, you don't have to get it up to a long conversation, but just to acknowledge how many other projects have this.
Well, I mean, to the extent of taking various areas, those are schools probably are most problematic that we always have to deal with. But again, the answer immediately that is some points and addressing the problem. I mean, long term, I mean, as you mentioned, a lot of the facilities are old facilities. So, I mean, we're dealing with roofing systems, we're dealing with old mechanical systems and water systems, some of them since the buildings were actually built. We do on a regular basis, and certainly do our capital improvement plan. Along with projects that's being submitted to the SBA that unfortunately aren't being carried out. To that point, right now, I know our Dunn Middle School, I know that our Hedgebeck Middle School, we have a number of underlying issues underneath the crawl space area that were both approved as emergent projects, but unfortunately have not been carried out. Ultimately are now becoming emergencies, and although our mechanical and maintenance staff are doing everything possible to maintain the system, it's unfortunately it's above and beyond what routine and required maintenance require. Now we're at a capital maintenance and almost emergency maintenance scale. So those type of projects, we can continue to push the state for the money, but ultimately, I mean, the district at some point in have the conversation this hour said this, we're going to have to meet the general budget expenditure $2 million try to address some of the piping issues and some of the issues that might be dealing with some of these. Unfortunately, that's the nature of it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
And it has to help the city council with this draft. Give our capital projects balance. We have one and so. Trying, but it's, and there is a 5-year project plan in place for the bridges.
Okay, if there are no additional comments, then I'm going to,
Madam President, I'm sorry, if I may, can we, I really would like for the staff to just please stay out of this. For your own safety and understanding. And make clear the well works. Lock the door, talk to somebody, keep on know somebody that they keep going down the basement. I'm asking, please, in the public forum, please stop going down the basement. There's no need to collect anything, there's no need to take any more pictures. Please stop going to the basement.
thank you, Mr. Mosley, for bringing forth that, how the district is addressing the concern that obviously is a long-standing one. And we do want everyone to be careful in terms of your own safety. He has asked, as he stated in the public forum, that the issue is one that he is aware of, and please not go into that particular area. All right, so at this particular point in time, I'm going to, first of all, ask for a motion to actually do the board discussion and action on the consent agenda. Before I do that, however, I would like to read a in memoriam statement. And so if you would, please listen. This is in memoriam. Be it known that the Trenton Board of Education acknowledges the loss of its employee, Christopher Potter, on May 11, 2021. Mr. Christopher Potter was employed by the district as a paraprofessional at Hedgebeck Williams. His dedication and service to the school district, families, students, and the community will always be kindly remembered and serve as an encouragement to others. Now be it resolved that the Trenton Board of Education celebrates the life of Mr. Christopher Carter and will place this in memoriam among the official records. Be it further resolved that a copy of this in memoriam will be forwarded to the Carter family on behalf of the staff and students of the Trenton Public Schools. Additionally, we would like to note the passing of former longtime employee in the Human Resources Office, Ms. Lakira Jones. We would also like to note the passing of retired teacher and guidance counselor, Mrs. Evelyn Hudson Green. At this time, I'm asking for a moment of silence as we remember and honor the contributions of all. Thank you, Ms. Williams. In addition to that, retired teacher, Mr. Robert Brown, who taught social studies in the district for a number of years. Thank you, and again, a moment of silence. Thank you. At this particular point in time, I'm going to ask for a board discussion and action on the consent agenda. And that includes the meeting minutes from April the 7th, April the 8th, April the 26th, and May the 4th. Also, again, the superintendent's recommendations with the amendments that were noted with the addendums that were noted earlier, as well as the board policy, the second reading on the grading policy and procedure. And the board regulation, board regulation, second reading, grading and policy procedure 2624. So at this particular time, if there are no comments, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have something to
Okay, all right, comments?
ask about the grading policy. I realize it's a second reading, but did anybody check with the teachers about how this 50 being the lowest is affecting things? The kids, you know, it's almost impossible to fail, but the kids need not be moved on, that are getting pushed through, and they shouldn't be because of this.
So I'm going to let Gerald respond to that being the head of the policy committee, but I think the policy was developed in conjunction with the teaching staff.
Correct.
Mr. Tom?
I want to defer to the superintendent.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Allow me to jump in. There's been a long-standing conversation around 50 and also the legal policy. Mr. Clark led that March. Throughout that process. This update policy, which is well received and heavily argued over. So that. Would you like Mr. Clark to provide additional context?
Yeah.
No.
Good evening. So the grading policy, we've been working on this for multiple years now. And when I took over,
You might turn
You might turn on.
thank you. So, good evening. So we've been working on this actually since at least 5 years. When I took over as acting chief academic officer in December, one of the, two of the missions that I set myself on was to accomplish the things that we've been working on for multiple years, such as grade policy and such as establishment of a gifted talent program. So one of the things that we did is I developed a committee of stakeholders, TEA, teachers, TASA, leadership team members, and content supervisors. We met every Monday and went over the grading policy, every single letter, the grading policy, and every single letter and regulation. We also surveyed every single district teacher on what the preferred floor was, whether that floor, a 50 floor, or a 40 floor. The majority of the district was in support of the 50 floor as per that survey. Only 1/3 of district teachers, and that's at all levels, because the data is consistent across all, or only 1/3 of the teachers preferred the floor as it is now. The majority of the district teachers were in preference of the 50 floor, as was the committee that met every week from January through April.
Okay, my concern is pushing kids through that haven't mastered what they're being taught, and that's why. That's what worries me, is when I put kids out there that are.
And we, and I think I can attest that, that was one of my original concerns. And, like I just mentioned, we had a lot of meetings and, we really talked through those things. And teacher support, just understanding the rationale behind it, I think about the whole pushing through thing. It doesn't amount to that. But I think maybe we can sit down and talk about it. Definitely, we had to work a lot of those issues out in the meeting, challenge a lot of those things, but I think the end result of the policy that, good policy, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
It's just, it's a matter of breaking down the rules and terms, and probably just not using the terms, bringing those terms out of the conversation, but future concerns.
And what does grade mean? To me, a grade means mastering skills.
And that is,
You know,
and
it's not
that
doing
is
your homework.
we're still,
Yeah.
still thinking that's standard.
And I just think one of the things that I might share in policy committee is the rationale for, I think from the teacher there, you said these things to Mike as well. But when you have a student who is, say, 0 in semester 1, how can they even think to grow
Correct.
in semester 2? They get an A in semester 2. What's that equating to a B? So if you have a 50 floor, that gives that student, if they're slacking in semester 1, they just didn't have the heart, they just didn't master it. But in semester 2, they say, you know what, I'll put my boots on the ground, I want to really study, I want to work hard, I want to get it better. They should have the opportunity not to be penalized
Correct.
from their first semester. So
Correct.
that's kind of the rationale. And superintendent, Yana, and Mike, you want to speak to that? I said it succinctly enough.
Yes.
Enough said.
Very, very.
So that's exactly it. Yeah, so for example, if a student, let's say, I were to get a 20, first market period of a semester, kids, they would, if they got a 99, it's okay. 99%, so.
Correct.
So thank you for the clarity, and we do appreciate that, because I know that that has been a long-standing issue and a concern, and I'm glad that the concern has been addressed through this policy, so that students can have a chance, right, of being able to be successful, even if they were challenged for one particular semester. So again, thank you for that clarification. At this point in time, any other questions? Mr. Blue? Yes.
Yes, you are. That's the, and the state is giving school-based service. You're funding the middle school portion.
Okay.
Just two comments on 2 agenda items. I want to thank Mr. Fred Ortiz, the Assistant Superintendent Secretary, working on the policy, on the Family Engagement Committee was involved in tonight. To have two agenda items, two resolutions on the agenda. One, to recognize Juneteenth, state holiday first. This is the inaugural year. So on the agenda tonight is a board resolution recognizing Juneteenth. The second resolution is recognizing the partnership with the African American Cultural Collaborative in Mercer County. I see Natasha Williamsburg here tonight. She's CEO. Wait a minute, first. So more partnership with she as CEO and many other partners across this great city and around the state actually to do a Juneteenth weekend celebration on June the 18th, 19th, and 20th. So the inauguration starts on the 18th. In the evening, the Memorial Building, the governor will be in attendance there. On the 19th will be our full day of activities. 20th will be a gospel show, which you don't want to miss. I just want to let you know that more information will be shared tomorrow on our broadcast. Our broadcast tomorrow, we have Latasha and her team going to come tomorrow on our 4 p.m. broadcast on TV radio with her team, partners across the city. Various people across the different organizations that are going to talk about, we're going to have a conversation about the weekend holiday of Juneteenth coming up in June. So don't want to miss that great opportunity to at least hear about all the great things that are happening. There's a lot of partners. We're one of those partners. The conversation with the president, Devon, and others on the board that want to go into partnership with the African American Cultural Collaborative in Mercer County. Dean and I happen to be advisors to that. Unpaid advisors, by the way. Just so you know, you've been working with them for many, many years with the Latasha team to really bring great opportunities for learning, culture, art, entertainment to the city of Trenton in a collaborative way across various cultures. So this one to be that. And also I want to make a correction to the resolution. I apologize for Secretary James not sharing with you that the dates are actually wrong. It should be 18th, 19th, and 20th on the agenda. Just want to make sure I make that note. One other correction is the collaboration, not the commemoration in terms of name of the organization. So we can make those two minor changes to both resolutions. I think we're in good shape. And if you could also have two certified resolutions drawn up after the board meeting sometime this week. Could just so we can have that at the moment. A certificate I'll share with Latasha and her team, resolutions in partnership with her and her team in the community and so forth. One last thing I'd like to do, if I could, Board President, just read some of the S-19, which is the legislation of the 29th legislature, which was enacted by the governor on September 10th, 2020. Rena Reynolds Jackson, our 15th Congressional Assemblywoman, is one of the sponsors, the co-sponsor, also Assemblyman Borelli, as well as our Senator Shirley Turner, the 15th Legislative District, Borelli and Turner. Senator Turner and Assemblyman Borelli were co-sponsors to the legislation in 2019 legislature, introduced on June 25th, 2020, signed by the governor on September 10th, 2020. In portion of the act, it says the legislature finds and declares that the Emancipation Proclamation issued by the President Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863, freeing all enslaved people living in the Confederate States. However, it was not until June 19th, 1865, that enslaved Black Americans in Galveston, Texas, learned that the Civil War was over and they were free. It is important to remember that neither the Emancipation Proclamation nor the Confederacy freed all enslaved people. Instead, it's only freed enslaved people in the Confederate States. Enslaved people living in Union states that bordered the Confederacy were not freed until the ratification of the 13th Amendment on December 6, 1865. Additionally, Black Americans were not fully recognized as citizens until the passage of the 14th Amendment in 1868, and Black men were largely prevented from voting until the passage of the 15th Amendment in 1870. I'd like to say on that note, this is outside of this proclamation. Women were given the right to vote in 19th. Juneteenth when word of freedom finally reached the enslaved people in Texas, and jubilant celebrations evolved into a general celebration of freedom. Juneteenth is also remembered for all Americans of the hardship that Black Americans have endured for centuries in this country, and examples of Black Americans often being the last to benefit from any change. That's just a portion of that ratification of that legislation that was passed by the Senate and the legislation and signed by the government on September 10th, 2020. I came forward for consideration of these bills. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Mr. Trueheart, and I believe you noted that on the finance agenda, item 8A, that the dates will stand as corrected, as noted. And certainly, we look forward to school days as well as community day celebrations of Juneteenth celebration. With that said, are there any additional comments? If not, then I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Roll call, Jean Louis.
Yes.
Yolanda.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, and so moving on, we have a couple of items in terms of old business and new business. And in terms of the old business, we have the concerns, the board concerns from the previous board meeting. These are from 5/12. Again, these are board concerns that were reviewed. Number one, the process for reporting COVID outbreaks and contact tracing is not being followed. No transparency in the superintendent search, and finalists are not being properly vetted. Resolution, contact tracing and notification procedures were followed for students and staff who tested positive for COVID. And I believe Ms. Freeman, our nursing supervisor, sent out an explanation regarding how those procedures actually work. Another concern, the transparency in the superintendent search. We will address that shortly through our superintendent search chair. Janice Williams, concern allegations of testing violations regarding the SAT and PSAT, employees being targeted for monetary harm, no community involvement in the superintendent search of candidates who are past TDOE employees may not be acceptable to the community. Response, the investigation regarding allegations of PSAT, SAT testing violations was conducted. Communication and follow-up with district staff members and the college board has occurred. Again, concerns regarding the superintendent search will be addressed shortly. Another concern, teachers' pay being docked, temperature scanners not working, online form not completed by all parents, air conditioning not working, no trash cans distributed for breakfast cleanup, symptomatic students coming to school, TEA staff being asked to wipe down desks, a ban on visitors is not being enforced, classrooms not being cleaned between cohorts, and internet outages. Responses. The first one about the adopted pay was addressed on the May 17th board meeting agenda. Second one, temperature scanners will be checked and recalibrated or replaced if it's not working properly. Please identify the units and location. Number 3, the Trenton Public Schools reopening plan addresses the school-based procedures for students who arrive to school without having the health and safety completed, the health survey completed, and the procedures for visitors. Number 4, air conditioning not working should be immediately reported to the head custodian or administrator to be addressed through a work order. If it's a window unit, please notify the custodian of its location. Number 5, ongoing hiring of additional custodians are on the agenda to be in fact brought on in terms of the district. Number 6, additional smaller trash cans are being delivered to each of the schools for use. Number 8, no district staff is required to wipe down any area with the exception of custodial staff. PPE supplies have been provided as a courtesy and they are optional for use. Number 9, visitors are not banned from schools. There are procedures on how to service visitors and parents who visit schools and who might need to visit schools. Number 10, Please identify the location where classrooms are not being cleaned appropriately wherever possible so that can be addressed. And number 11, the internet outages. The district's internet provider had an outage in our area caused by a car accident. The technology department utilized a connection that runs the district telephone service as an option until the issue was resolved. Those were the responses to the board concerns from 512. Okay, with that said, new business. And in this new business, I would like search chair, Mr. Ron Tice, to review the superintendent search procedures. All right, it's me again. So I just want to recap our superintendent search. You've been talking about this over the past few months. Just want to give a brief synopsis on what we have undertook to get to where we are today. We started our search maybe back in October. And we decided to procure the services of the New Jersey NJSBA School Board Association. Jesse Williams has assisted us in this process. Jesse Evans, who has assisted us in this process and has been very patient and helpful throughout the entire endeavor. We started out with a nationwide search. It was posted on the Jersey School Association website along with other media outlets. And we were able to capture the attention of 29 applicants. From that 29, 10 applicants was interviewed. And the criteria was chosen based on answers that we received from our community survey, in which we sent out a list of 10 questions that we wanted to gauge the community on. Those 10 questions we used to develop search criteria in regards to who we interviewed and questions and ultimately our selection. At that point, we were able to narrow it down from 10 candidates down to 6. It was interesting. It was very much free. We had a lot of qualified candidates who got us very excited for this process. Very much looking forward to talking and speaking to see what folks have to offer. So from that point, we continued to leave the survey open. We did have a community forum. We spoke about the survey results, but also we heard from the community that they wanted more time, more of the same. And we definitely understood that, so we allowed the survey to stay open for the duration of the search. We continued to accumulate responses and gather information. And from that information, in our interviews, we answered 10 questions. 6 of those 10 questions came directly from our community survey. And they were very good questions that were posed to judge the candidates on those specific questions, which led us to 4 candidates. So we're three rounds of interviews in, 4 candidates down, and we got to the decision of 2 qualified candidates. And I'm going to leave president to announce our selected candidate. I want to take a minute to thank Alfonso Yaga for your patience and your cooperativeness in this entire process. The questions we had, or you were there to answer them. Just understanding the position you were in took a lot of patience, took a sense of humbleness, and a lot of integrity and pride. Being in the position you're in. Well deserved. So Eddie, I'll let you take it on. And now it's time for I just want to quickly finish by saying, I thank the board for entrusting me with this position. I know that some of you have not been in agreement with all the things that we have done to get to this point and the method in which we have done them. I'll show you that this is a clean process in which I think
a lot of my time. And I'm very happy with how it's going. And I think Chairman November 4, dealing with you, my multiple emails and multiple text messages, all types of night. So that was kids sleep, I'm texting you guys at 11:30 at night, so I really appreciate you sticking with me and trusting me in this position. Very, very much appreciate it. Okay, so again, Teron, I do want to thank you for taking on that task and to carrying it out. And so, in terms of the search, it was a long process, and that process is quite involved. And I will say, as Teron alluded to, the members of the public contributed in terms of answering the surveys and participating in this town hall. I know that many of you wanted more, but we do have to understand that the school board is charged with hiring and screening one employee only. Our one employee is the superintendent. And so that is a responsibility that we take very seriously. And we know that, you have concerns, but we've heard your concerns. And that is a decision that sometimes there are decisions that you can have everyone sit down at the tables out. There's sometimes decisions where you talk to a few people about. There's sometimes decisions that you just have to make based on the input of everyone, but you have to make those decisions yourself. And so with that said, I would like to say that our successful candidate that we have appointed and that we intend to approve tonight is none other than Mr. James Earl. Mr. Earl, would you please stand? Say that Mr. Earl is coming to us by way of West Windsor, Plainsboro, by way of Montclair, and also by way of Trenton Central High School a few years back. And so certainly we appreciate the fact that he's here. And Mr. Earl, if you would, please come forward. And I know our custodian. It's like it's taken care of. Okay, so Mr. Earl, if you would, just again introduce yourself, and we're looking forward to approving you after we go into executive session. But we certainly want to give you an opportunity to address this particular gathering, and know that we appreciate you, and we're looking forward to working with you. And I heard the word collaboration. So despite whatever you may have thought of the superintendent search process, Mr. Earl will be, after formal vote, will be our superintendent. And we trust that you will collaborate and work with him to make the district better and to better serve our students for the future. Mr. Earl.
Thank you, President Daniels Lane, and to all of the board members. Thank you for including me in the process and giving me an opportunity to share my experience and really to reminisce some about my time at Trenton High School, and then just to talk about where we go in the future, educating students, partnering families, and staff, and associations, and everyone included in this great district. I'm truly excited at this time. There's a sense of nervousness that as an ex-athlete, prior to a game, I was always nervous, and I truly believe it helps you perform, pay attention to detail. I've been listening intently tonight, learning a little bit about what the community is asking for, and I'm very close to this community. I live very far away, and my family, to be quite honest, has always been in Trenton. Everyone lives here. My first 3 years in New Jersey, I developed a family, and my family was never gone away. As I said to this board in my interview, I worked to try to get back to Trenton to do really important work with really important people. So I'm just truly excited to be here. I know there's good work ahead. I know there's good people to work with. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity. I want to thank you for trusting me to lead this community. I want to thank the individuals here who have been part of my growth in New Jersey and in Trenton and in this region. Looking forward to partnering and leading you in Mercer County, the state of Trenton, certainly in this great city of Trenton. So, just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to joining this team. I know that we will do tremendous work transforming the district and changing our narrative. So I'm really focusing on just an outstanding tradition of what Trenton really means to the people here in the city. So thank you much more and enjoy your evening. I look forward to joining you very soon. Thanks.
So thank you, Mr. Earl, and thank you, Superintendent Yana. We have made the connection, and Mr. Yana and Mr. Earl are going to work through this period of transition. We appreciate Mr. Yana for working with Mr. Earl and Mr. Earl for reaching out and both gentlemen doing double duty in terms of working together here in Trenton, but also, again, trying to still hold down the responsibilities that you have been signed on to do in terms of Westminster Plainsboro and your other invitation to violence. And so, again, the transition has begun and will continue as these two gentlemen, acting superintendent and incoming superintendent, work together with our union, and I'm going to say our union partners because we talked about collaboration, work with our leadership teams to in fact make this transition a successful one and move our district forward. So thank you, and thank you. Okay, all right. So hopefully I have not forgotten anything, but the one thing I do want to know, as Jerron mentioned earlier, we are we are accepting the resignation of board member Sade Williams. And again, we do thank her for her service in the Atlanta board meeting. We acknowledge the service of Ms. Nicole Brassois, and we thank her for her service. And again, we're looking forward to incoming board member, Ms. Denise Johnson, who will be joining us shortly after her formal entry procedure is completed. So I want to thank you, and at this point in time, I'm going to move to the resolution for executive session. And it reads as follows. Executive session resolution, May 24, 2021. Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, codified as NJSA 10-4-6, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting under certain circumstances. And whereas the Trenton Board of Education is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, indicated as follows. Any collective bargaining agreements or other discussion of the terms and conditions of a collective bargaining agreement, including negotiations leading up to such an agreement with employees or representatives of the public body, name of union, MOA to the Business and Technical Association, any pending or anticipated litigation or contract negotiations which the board is or may become a party to, and any matter falling within the attorney-client privilege to the extent that confidentiality is required to preserve the attorney-client relationship and allow the attorney to exercise his or her ethical duties as a lawyer. Matters captured, legal invoices, board grievance committee decisions regarding TEA and TESA, and superintendent contract. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Trenton Board of Education, County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, that an executive session will be held on May 24th, 2021, for the statutorily permissible purposes indicated in this resolution. Be it further resolved that action may be taken by the board when it reconvenes in open session. Be it finally resolved that the minutes of the executive session with regard to the above subject matter shall be disclosed to the public at a later date, and to the extent that the same is not prejudicial to the interest of the parties involved, no longer adverse to the public interest, or does not endanger any individual's right to privacy. That is the resolution. I need a motion.
So moved. Yes.
Yolanda Lopez, Veronica Knight, Joe Trueheart,
Yes.
Jeannie Weaver, yes, Randy Davis.
Yes. At this time, we are going to move into executive session. Certainly, if you have a minute, please do brief and introduce yourself to our incoming superintendent. Remember, social distancing is important, as we can introduce, and Mr. Earl. Mr. Earl, when you finish talking, we can just chat with Christian in the back. When you finish.